Yeah, what's the first rule of YouTube? Make sure your camera's on. What's the second rule of YouTube? Make sure your battery's charged.
Yeah. So Jace, what are you doing today?
As little as possible.
That's not actually an option, I don't think. It's brakes day.
Well, no, it's going to paint the Snuffleupagus.
You paint the Snuffleupagus. And then we're going to put some bigger brakes onto this truck. So we have some dimple drilled and slotted sports discs for an MA70 Supra. We have SP500 fast road brake pads. And some brake calipers. Oh, just wait, calipers. And a pair of Brembo brake calipers. So we can't actually take the credit for this setup at all. Okay, that goes to Toby with the supercharged 1UZ and a Hilux. And he's actually decided to take off the supercharger and turbocharge it. But he, by default, total accident, found out that these calipers fit this model ute. We've also got some 5mm spacers. And I was going to buy some tapered cap screws on Friday when I was in Hamilton getting all the air conditioning and everything else done, and I forgot. Yes, but I got the cold done. I rocked in with beer. Rocked in with the beer at 3:45, and at 4:55 I picked it up with cold, with the air conditioning working. We had another little bit of an issue. I was worried that the cooling system wasn't going to handle the jandle, so we took out the 86-degree thermostat and we put in a 70-degree thermostat. And driving home with the air conditioning on, both fans cranking, it was sitting at 70 degrees. And I actually looked at the computer at one point, the laptop, and it went to 68 degrees. So we may have to find a performance thermostat that's a little bit warmer than this one.
Or turn the second fan off.
And probably going to turn that fan off as well, because we did have both fans running. So we had, for the air conditioning, I had this fan, the spal, and the derail down there going. So as Jace pulls it apart, we'll do a couple of updates and a bit of checking, keep an eye on him, and we'll see how he gets on setting up these brakes.
They work.
Oh, imagine too big where?
They just hang over the inside of their...
Is that outside edge?
Yeah.
Well, that's not really a concern. But they go right to the outside surface here?
Oh. Right, just a couple mils. Yeah, they're close, they're not quite all the way out.
Still pretty good though, eh?
Yeah.
And I agree with them sitting all the way.
Yeah. I think if you got on them hard enough, that it'd eventually bend those
pins. So we're just comparing brake pads, and the Land Cruiser ones aren't as wide as the Peugeot ones. So these are a Peugeot 607.
I don't know.
607, I think they're 607. I have to check now. Caliper, 607 caliper. 605. I don't even remember. It was a V6 Peugeot. Yeah, and it does sit all the way out. I think you're right.
It doesn't sit, unless they have a...
I'm agreeing. I think it does need to go all the way out, because these ones just aren't simply not wide enough. They bolt in, but they're not. Get your welder out. Weld them wider. Okay. So you remove the disc cover, as he keeps the cooling going in better. Jason?
Kind of tacked on.
Why have you got a welder? You're doing a brake job. Why have you got a welder?
I'm making brake lines.
With a welder?
Yeah, might leak though.
The crazy ways we come up to solve problems, isn't it? So, yes, we are in fact welding brake lines. We're going to take these ones as samples to the brake manufacturers, the hose manufacturers. So we thought we'd actually tack up a sample for them so they have something to work off, so we can check all our angles and rubs and check nothing touches and everything when we do the job. And so that's why Jace got in there with a welder, cut the brake pipe and welded it up. Now I also came in this morning to find him putting the rotor on backwards, but so he could drill the holes through for the mounting bolts. And yes, we're going to put countersunks in. We've ordered some countersunk bolts for the job, because we won't be able to bolt a wheel on with those big heads on there. Slow and steady wins the race. Everything matched up correctly, and it'll all work like it should. We will honestly be taking the welded brake lines off.
They would definitely leak.
You're not up to that sort of welding?
No. Well, considering I misaligned the hole and yeah. Don't put the camera in there.
Oh, it's a big blobby.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like the easiest welding a brake line with brake fluid.
No. With a MIG.
With a MIG, yeah. It'll serve its purpose. We'll get that done. And
I'm probably going to cut it off and start to try and move it.
Oh, okay. You're not quite happy?
Oh, I don't know. That should move up when the arm goes up, eh?
Yeah. Yeah, probably try and pull another, what do you reckon, another 5 mils?
I can just actually rotate around on the... No.
Yeah, another couple of, well, even another 5 mils of clearance in there would be nice. Just to get it right. It looks good though. It's very good.
It's fine. It's fine this way. Goes away.
Put this in your car, Jace.
Oh, what it?
Go to E.
Go to who?
E15.
Oh, okay. Sure.
Yep.
Goes perfectly that way.
Yeah, so if you pull another 5 mils off.
Off here.
Yeah, you reckon?
I'll just take that arm up.
Yeah, cool. So it's been a big day on the brakes. As you can see, we've got the spacer plate, got the right screws coming. We've got some second-hand pads sitting in there at the moment, but that is going to all work like it should. And the brake lines are off. Jason's dropping them to the manufacturer at the moment to make some new ones. We've been watching the goats self-move, which is a pretty normal experience over here. And Jace missed out on the last move where they decided after milking they'd go for a walk. And they can get into places where they shouldn't be getting at that time of the day. These goats out. Oh yes. They've decided that there was a little... Oh, that's actually broken more. There we go. It isn't the pallet that's fallen down. Fresh break. The cows or something, the goats broken the fence. And they've pushed their way through that bit needs a new bit of wood. We were working in the workshop and there were goats out by the silage stack and we were like, where did these goats come from? Turns out they're, again, self-moving. They were actually at the other end of the farm. They weren't this way at all. And often actually, Jace wanders out and moves the goats and they're deciding they're going to go down to by the house. When they go to the house, they eat the garden and that's not ideal. Hey goats, I know Jace normally does this job, but can you please come with me? Come on. Come on, girls. Come on. Come on. Good girls, come on. Come on. They're actually pretty well behaved. They just look after themselves and do whatever they want. Come on. Come on, girls. Okay, here's your gate. There's the gate. It's nice, yummy grass. It hasn't been chewed on by anything else because we mow that grass. There's the gate. Good girl. All you have to do is get the first one going and the rest will follow. Good girl.
In you go. Get in there, Liam.
Hey, oh, we go. There we are. Hello, miss. Hello. 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 You're gonna eat me? Yeah, good girl. I'm a rubbing post. Oh, jeez. It's a day off on this. Tomorrow we're going to wait for everybody to make some stuff. We're also sorting out the brake pads, and the pads that were recommended by the man who gave us the information on the set, we weren't happy with the way they sat into the caliper. So this is, of course, a Big Bimbo, and the pads sit down tight into the caliper on each side, into the aperture of the caliper, and they're quite tight. And the Land Cruiser ones were narrow, so they were being supported by these pins and not actually by the body of the caliper. Fortunately, Leon at Zanoli Brakes is just amazing, and his knowledge on this sort of stuff is just absolutely mind-blowing. And he was able to reference over and find us some pads that are going to do the job. And he's like, these calipers, you know, very similar generic versions or other versions of it fit this models, Evos and WRXs and all these vehicles. And so he was able to find us some pads. It's going to take a couple of days for those to arrive. And I was hoping for this bit to be a little bit easy. But I've been super proud of Jason. He's been getting into this, and he's picked up on these sorts of things. And so it doesn't give us problems. So it goes together and it's going to work properly and be really good. And problem-solving skills. And this business that we're in of modifying cars is about solving problems. And so finding ways to drill holes in the right place and set up everything and come up with solutions is really important. And Jace has done an amazing job today. Absolutely amazing. So fingers crossed, all the parts arrive like they're meant to, and the brake hoses are correct. Again, Jason spent lots of time checking they're all correct and flowing correctly and doing what they're meant to do. So we'll find out when they come back whether they fit. And of course, it hasn't just been brakes. He has been doing other little jobs like painting the intake and just little bits and pieces around the vehicle to make sure it's 100%, which it's been a really good day. I've been running along like a crazy person trying to find all the parts. He's been ticking along sorting stuff out. Here you go. A dirty rag and insulation tape. Well, I heard you were bleeding.
What? I'm not bleeding.
Well, you just said I've got to give this a bleed. Look what we've got. We've got braided brake lines. And Jace was in there this morning just setting them all up, making them just work how they should. And of course, braid responds a little bit different to the rubber. I have to show you this. Jace's brake line with the banjo fitting welded on. And the suppliers did a really good job, but fortunately, when we were doing this, Jace took the time and he cut an extra 5 mils off. And when the manufacturers made a new one, they got that 5 mils back again. So they're good and they work. But it was just a bit of a pain when they don't quite do it as we want. And hey, we understand it's hard to make it exact. But that's our dummy fit. We've got in and we've done the turn, so we...
I thought it was quite clever, not dummy.
It was. It was actually very clever. It was a very clever solution. You're good problem solving today, yesterday, day before,
3 days ago.
whatever it was. And then we actually go through and we check the turn. We check that it doesn't touch any suspension components, doesn't rub anywhere on both locks, which it seems to work just fine. We then got in, we've bled the brakes. So we got a nipple on the outside and we got a nipple on the inside. So two nipples. Now we're pretty good with nipples. Well, we like to think so. We've used the Peugeot pads for now. I've got the proper pads coming. Just the coordinating everything at the moment can be a little tricky, and it just didn't quite go to plan. And we're thinking we might use these pads as a backing plate yet, just so we get everything sitting in there like we would like. This is quite a big orifice to fit everything in, so we'll see how it looks like when we've got the SP500 pads from Zignoli. James, we can probably put the inner guards in too. Looking at this, it's not a crazy person keeps Zignoli SP500 pads for a Peugeot. Apparently, Zignoli do. Fast road pads for your Peugeot, just in case you need a Peugeot brake pads.
For your Hilux.
For your Hilux. So our pads arrived. Jason has fitted the pads to the Hilux. It's countersunk the bolts because the spacer has to be attached to the rotor or to the wheel. So we've got the new brakes all going in, just about ready for a test drive. Do you like your edges slippery?
Makes them a little bit nicer to fit.
Just slide in there. We don't want squeaks. Don't want the squeaks. You can see we've got the braided brake lines are fitted. They're all done. So this is nearly the last piece of the puzzle before it goes in for a wheel alignment. And it's booked for certain a couple of days' time. We've popped some inner guards in. We are waiting on some of the more clips. Some of them get broken. It's just normal. I wasn't going to pay $6 a clip here in New Zealand, when for like 3 times that we could have got enough to do all of the guards. How's your playing with your bimbos there, Jace?
Can you just take the camera away from just, you don't even see this. No, I'm not doing anything.
Don't put any marks on our calipers. We don't want marks on it. Looks good. I'm really proud of the way you've done those brake hoses. Bevan was saying that he was talking about why it got 5 mils longer. And I'm like, yeah, that would have been great, but we could have made it
5 mils shorter?
5 mils. We had it bang on. He said some people, because the way that it comes up and the way it turns, sometimes they're not long enough when they do, because of the way it holds it out, where it's coming through these brackets, so it sticks out. But I'm like, nah, he needed to talk to us about that one. But it still worked pretty well. We're pretty fortunate. Levi, can you just get a zip tie and put a zip tie through the top of that cover up there? Just so we don't want it rubbing until it's gone through and sorted. They're on their way now. They're actually in the country. Well, they're coming. They're on the next shipment. Well, the first stop worked. Go for a little test drive, nice and gentle. Now go up the road and bed it in. Actually, I'm using the laptop, you can see the log for me. Bugger off. We'll pull a log out when you get back.